Today we are talking to Tommy, Put 'em on the Glass podcast, first AGTO Auto Glass Technician Olympics competitor, a great dude, great technician. So please sit back and enjoy the show. Reverse, take it back. Here we go with this little jargon. Today's show is the opinions of our host and our guest. I must stress that this show is completely separate from my professional life, even though there's some overlap in my professional life. This show is completely separate from my professional life. So please enjoy Put 'em on the Glass podcast. And any knowledge given should be checked against industry standards. Thank you. What is good, my listeners? This is James, the Ghost Set Killah, Put 'em on the Glass podcast. Today is an exciting day for me. We have the opportunity to sponsor some technicians this year and for competing in the AGTO, the Automotive Glass Tech Olympics, which is the competition that I only competed in. And it's so near and dear to my heart. So we get to go at it this year and have a technician. So who is our technician with us today?
Hey, I am Tommy George.
Tommy George. Where are you out of, Tommy?
I am based out of Salt Lake City, Utah, just south of Salt Lake City, Utah.
Okay, and what shop do you work for?
I am the general manager for Timpanogos Auto Glass in Pleasant Grove.
Okay, Mr. General Manager.
Yeah.
Look at that. Like, pop that color. I love that.
Right,
that. So,
yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Oh. All right. So coming into last year's competition, I was judging. And I remember speaking with a mutual friend of ours, Jacques Navant, and he was like, you're going to want to be on the lookout for this kid because he is something special. He is very good. He's very meticulous. His style's his style aligns with yours very well. I'm a little bit more flashy than you are. I'm not going to lie there. I'm not going to lie there. But like with our customer service, because I was obviously being a judge, I was paying attention to your customer service. I was paying attention to your techniques and stuff. And he's correct. We do align on a lot of things because Jacques has got to see me install for many years, being a competitor. So when it came time for me to, hey, I was given this opportunity and immediately I called Jacques because I was like, hey, would Tommy be interested in being a technician for me? And he was like, I would imagine so, but you need to call him. And I'm like, okay. So that's why I zeroed in on you because, dude, I'm telling you, in my heart, I feel you got the win this year. I mean, I'm not judging. But in my heart, I feel it's there, man. I'm just like, yeah, I think you got it. So where you sitting at right now? Are you feeling confident?
Yeah, I am for sure. I've just been trying to work like the competition into my everyday routine. Like I've done a few practice runs now. Obviously, I've been trying to do those once a week, starting like now, leading up to the competition. But just like, obviously you can't do a full competition run on every single install every day, but just the small things, like vehicle protection, talking about the temperature and humidity and drive away times with the customers, not cutting towards yourself, really good pinch weld cleaning, no scratches while you're trimming the bead type of thing. Just the small stuff I can work into my daily routine so that way when it does come time to do the competition, it's muscle memory and it's not like, okay, I have to do all this extra stuff and now I'm not prepared type of thing.
No, I respect that, and I also relate to that. Coming in 19, I didn't know what to expect. This was my first time. I just really found out, thanks to Cody Allen the year before, about the Tech Olympics. I glanced over the packet in 19. I thought, I'm just going to go and do what I do. You know what I mean? I was already protecting vehicles. I was already, doing all the things I thought I was supposed to be doing, like we all get in this flow where we, especially when we're not influenced too much by the outside world, we just see the small world on Facebook, which is great. Those tech groups are awesome. I love being a part of them. There's some great useful information. but it's not our own orb. So you think in your world, you're the best around your, you know what I mean? And I was no different. Like I really did. I'm just going to go. You know what I mean? I watched Cody Allen do a demonstration at Pilkington in Columbus, and I'm like, man, this guy's good. And he'd won. And I'm like, okay. You know, I'm taking notes and everything after him and I talked. And, you know, like the biggest thing for me, 19, I had some hiccups, man. I spilled primer on the floor. I had to stop midway through, clean the primer all the way up. Then I forgot the rear view mirror in the back seat. Other than that, I finished my car, but obviously dock points for the primer, dock points for getting a safety device. Rear view mirror is a safety device, by the way.
Yeah.
I forgot the rear view mirror in the back seat, safety device. Excuse me. I just had a C4. Whew, those are bad. But anyway, so like that right there gave me my points to miss the finals. Okay. I was like, okay. And then I come back and didn't really practice, but added a few little things like what you're talking about, pushing away, making sure I'm cutting away from myself, making sure that I'm displacing pillars, making sure that I'm, you know, really paying attention when I'm reassembling. So, and then I had a decent run for third place, and then went into San Antonio with this big ass head thinking I'm great, and then missed the finals again, man. I'm like, oh my God, this can't happen. So I really buckled down leading into 23 and making sure that you're right. As many times throughout the day, you can do a competition run, And then when you're doing your practice runs, make sure you have a proctor there and make sure you have someone judging you. Those are two big tips I could give, because some of the awkwardness that you face is the fact that you're not used to a proctor, whether it be a customer or whatever, but standing right there and happen to incorporate them into your run. Because even, I don't know about you, Tommy, on a daily basis, when someone asks if they can watch you, my first response is absolutely. I'm just going to have to ask you to stand out of the way, because there's certain parts of it. And then I always like talking to people, but sometimes it's not talking about pertinent to the job. You know what I mean? I've already told them their safe driveway time. I've already told them but it's not like explaining like I do in the competition. So like having that person there and then having somebody peek over your shoulder the whole time, making sure you're doing what you're supposed to do. What's your experience with that? Are you thinking that that's something that would be valuable for people to practice like that?
Absolutely. I mean, when I would say even just a few years ago, like I'm a pretty quiet guy. If I could just put in my music and just zone in, not have to talk to anybody all day, I would be fine. But as I was leading up to the competition last year, I was like, okay, rather than getting annoyed that somebody wants to talk my ear off while I'm trying to do the work for them, I was like, let's just embrace it. And not only did it make me better prepared for the competition, because it wasn't so uncomfortable to have people watching you and, you know, looking over your shoulder, but it was also kind of nice to just get to know folks that you work with. And I've had some really meaningful conversations and made some good connections that way just by coming out of my shell a little bit. But definitely anytime anybody's like, oh, is it all right if I watch? I'm like, yeah, like no big deal at all. You know, just as long as you're out of the way and it's safe for everybody, you know, come check it out.
Yeah. The biggest thing is keeping them at a decently safe distance. And big tip, for anybody competing this year, make sure that you bring safety glasses and some form of, I always gave my proctor safety glasses. I gave them nitrile gloves, and I always gave them a vest. That way, okay, people think it's funny, right? There's not, but what that did was I was able to see them in my periphery. So if I was getting ready to walk around a vehicle and they were standing right there, I caught it and I would turn and talk to them to try to guide them where I needed them to go, so I didn't have that collision that sometimes people have with a customer or with a proctor. So that's why I gave them the safety vest. Obviously, I passed it off like, oh, well, I want you to be safe. I want you to be visible, you know. But it was mainly for me. It was because that way I had that periphery of, okay, wait, that's neon. One year was orange, and then it was the neon yellow or green, whatever you want to call it. And that allowed me to kind of keep track of where they were, just in case I need to bring them in. But make sure they have safety glasses on. And then the years of COVID I competed, I always gave them a mask that was branded. I had a mask that was branded. We don't have that anymore. But these are all things you want to make sure you're protecting your customer, your proctor, your customer at all costs, because you do get points for that. That is something that will be deducted points-wise if you're not taking them into consideration if they're watching. Tommy, I need to ask you something, and if it's too, like, you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. But what you said there is there's a lot of technicians that are very skilled, great technicians, and their customer service is kind of, because they're quiet, because they zone in, they focus, they want to work, and they're brilliant technicians. What did you talk to yourself about to get yourself opened up? Did you seek someone outside to help you with that? Did you just go internally? So explain to our technicians who might be wanting to compete, and maybe not even compete, but just bring their customer service level up because they're so, I guess, introverted in their job. Maybe not introverted in everyday life, but in their job. How did you remedy that?
That's a good question. I was lucky enough. My dad was in sales all my life growing up. So from the time I was a little kid, spending time at work with him, I watched him interact with people for a really long time, and I think that's what's made my customer service skills what they are today, just because I had the example from him. And so while I'm kind of naturally an introverted person and like to kind of just keep to myself and keep my head down, it was kind of just like me working with myself, like, okay, like, pause the music, just come out of your shell a little bit. It's okay if they want to talk to you. And after just allowing myself to do that, the payoff of just not only building a meaningful connection and kind of a relationship with that customer, like, it just was so much more satisfying to me to do. It's what makes the job satisfying, is building that relationship, doing a good job, building that connection with somebody. And instead of just putting in glass all day and going home and you're tired and you're either cold or hot or whatever, like, hey, like, I made a difference in somebody's day. And that alone, just how nice that's been to build more meaningful connections, has been way worth whatever drawbacks there initially were, and now I'm totally open to it way more than I was before.
Thank you for that. There's so many gems in there that I want to make sure we highlight on for anybody listening who wants that extra little. Okay, a good salesperson, if you can find them in your life or whatever, ask them for tips. My wife was in customer service pretty much her whole life, even when she went, and now that she's a nurse, she's been a nurse for 26 years now, but even then she works directly with the public, so she understands the customer service. She grew up being a customer service, like a salesperson, so she gave me a lot of tips. You're absolutely right. Partner with somebody who is comfortable working with, or can set an example of how to treat people in a situation where they're not in a good mood, man. They're having their windshield replaced, bro.
Yeah.
Like, something bad has happened for you to be there. Yeah. And like you said there, you make a difference in someone's day. They don't want to be getting their windshield changed. That's like when my air compressor blew up, I don't want to be fixing that thing. You know what I mean? So, like, that's a bad day. So I'm having to figure that out. They're having to figure it out too. If you can uplift them, make them feel more comfortable, they have a great experience, maybe they don't leave you the review, maybe they don't, but I'm telling you what, they're telling their family and friends about, like, hey, I got my windshield done. And I'll tell you what, Tommy, that's a solid dude, you know what I mean? Or however, they would speak, a great gentleman, a great technician. So that's, being skilled at your job is important. Being skilled at what we do saves lives, period. I mean, because if it is, a lot of times it's an accident, so there's not an if, but a when. And when that happens, if what we've done performs the way it's supposed to perform, they're safe. You know what I mean? So that's something you got to be skilled at that. But being skilled at that personal level is such a, like, tip of the hat of professionalism. You know, like that's when you become a true professional. Like you could be good at what we do, but your customer service isn't there, or your customer service isn't there, and then your skill set at what you do isn't there. You're not a true professional. A true professional brings it all together and can do all of these things. So I'm glad that you really hit the nail right there. Get yourself a role model when it comes to sales or customer service, and then make sure that you're bringing that person up, because they don't want you to be there. They don't want you to be working on their car because they don't want their window to be broken, whether it be a door glass, a back glass, a windshield, whatever it is. You know, and also what I've found out is sometimes those stories of how those things got broken.
Yeah. I've heard some crazy stories.
Yeah, I bet, because you're out in like the wilderness too. Like,
yeah,
so
yeah.
Like, have you ever had like a bobcat attack, or not, a mountain lion attack my car, or a bear or a moose or anything?
Yeah. I've had people hit deer, elk, turkeys. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I've done the deer and turkey, but an elk?
Yeah.
Ooh.
It was like my, I don't know, second month doing glass, and it was this old 1549 big lift kit, and that windshield was just laying on the dude's dashboard. Like there was glass all the way back behind the seats. Like it was a mess. Yeah.
How long did it take you to clean that thing up?
Couple hours.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can't leave it. I mean,
No.
You didn't.
No.
One thing that kind of irks me about technicians a little bit is some technicians, not all technicians, they'll clean up a little bit, but they won't clean up a bunch because they're like, well, I didn't break it. Doesn't matter. You're there to fix it. You're there to remedy it. You know what I mean? You're there to remedy the problem. So they didn't break it either. A lot of times your customer didn't break it, you know? So,
right.
So like I've heard that a lot out in the field talking to people, and I'm just like, but you're being
that car should look better than before the damage occurred, you know? Like,
yes.
Cleaning up, vacuum up the floor a little bit, wipe their dashboard down, clean their rear view mirror, you know? Like, it's those small things that are going to earn you a customer for life.
Yes. Let's preach that. It should look better than when I got there.
Yeah.
You know, you're not detailing the car. We're not asking you to detail the car, but what we're asking you to do is make it better than when you got there. Because it's already going to be better because you've already performed professional, safe installation, and the windshield looks better because it's not all broken up. The door glass looks better because it's actually filling the hole or cracked or whatever it is that you're working on. But it needs to be better. You need to leave it better than when you arrived, and you're right, because you'll get that customer for life, and then they don't price shop.
Yeah.
They really don't price shop. They just know this is my glass guy. This is my glass person. This is where I go for my glass. And everybody, like I've said on many shows in the past, and I'll say it again, everybody wants a person. Yeah. I have my mechanic. I have my AC guy. I have my roofer. I have my, you know, hey, Chris, you gonna need a windshield? Let me tell you what, I'll get you in contact with my glass person, my glass guy, so here it is, and I think that does, you're right, that hometown feeling of I have a person goes a long way. It really does, especially in the what we're trying to navigate now with the TPAs and everything. I think that personal touch really has to be there, so they don't price shop or insurance shop, or they go to their insurance agent and they're like, this is the person I use. So if I can't use them, then I'm going to just pay out of pocket, or I'm just going to whatever. So there's just some very good tips right there when it comes to customer service, Tommy. You've laid it down there. So let's go into what's coming up for us. Auto Glass Week. What are you excited about the most besides the competition?
Just to get to see everybody again. I'll be honest, and huge shout out to Travis Krebs and Chris Smith from Valley Glass. They asked if I wanted to go last year, and I was just like, oh, it's a waste of time, I already know how to do my job. But after going and experiencing it and seeing, being surrounded by the best of the best in our industry, how incredible of an experience that was, and that's probably what I'm looking forward to the most besides the competition this year, is just being able to see everybody again.
Yeah, that's you're right. There's a lot of people that are on that fence, especially being in Reno on the West Coast. It gives you a play. If you're on the East Coast, it gives you vacation, whatever. But
Yeah.
like, the biggest thing is like, oh well, I already know how to do my job. What's this going to? But it does. You're going to learn something if you go. You're going to enjoy. You're going to network. If you get the full pass and you go to all the classes. Did you see that they just added the ADAS certification you
Yeah,
can take this
I'm
year?
so excited to do
Oh,
that.
me too. I'm doing it. I'm doing
Yeah.
it. And then the CSR one is up too. So
Yeah.
bring out your CSRs, bring out your techs to be certified, because they can walk away from this show with actual certifications that matter in the hands of insurance agents, in the hands of liability. So I'm excited for that too. How great is Travis Krebs?
He's a legend, man. Like, when I started working for Valley, like, Travis and I have known each other for a long time. He actually did my training class at SafeLight because he came over with the Technoglass acquisition, and we've just stayed in touch over the years. And when I first started there, like, being able to spend time just one-on-one with him totally made me into the technician I am today. Like, that guy is on another plane of existence. Like, he's just so smart, so good at his job. Like, I'm so grateful to have been able to learn from him. He's a legend for sure.
Yeah, I got to compete against him in 19, and I believe he
Yeah.
came second that year. So I got to compete against him in 19, and then obviously I had the privilege of judging him last year, and just talking to him overall. I don't have as much experience as you do with him, but Ben and I was also talking about this. But every interaction I've had with Travis Krebs, and I'm sure he doesn't, other than judging last year, I'm sure he doesn't remember me from 2019, but I talked to him multiple times in 2019. And it was always questions, you know what I mean? Like, and the same with Matt Kerbo, and the same with, a bunch of the technicians that I competed against. I was questioning. And, to his credit, he never once acted like I was annoying him.
Yeah.
He never once acted like, that, well, if you don't know, then, kind of get away from me. And then obviously I wasn't on social medias at that time, so I didn't have that part to reach out to him or anything. But then when I heard he was competing last year, super duper excited just to talk to him. And then him and I talked a few times. And I'll tell you what, like, I have a lot of glass heroes that I fanboy on. And Travis is definitely one of the ones I fanboy on, because
Yeah.
he's just... him and David, those two made my 2019 so special. Those two were like, because there's a lot of people, and I'm sure your first time competing was last year, you have a lot of people that made your first year special. And 2019 was that way for me. There was quite a few people that made my year special, from Will, making me want to come back, to Cody Allen to introducing me to it, to meeting Matt Kerbo, to just, there's a whole group. But David and Travis Krebs made my 2019 super special. We had so much fun hanging out at the dinner and just talking. And so, yeah, Travis is a legend. I'm so thankful to know him. Maybe I don't know him like you do, but just to know him. So anybody, if you get a chance to work with, to shout out, to talk to, do yourself a favor. Your life will be better if you talk to Travis Krebs.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's definitely great. I'm looking forward to the overall experience this year of Auto Glass Week, but the ADAS certification for me is a big one. That's a big win for me. I'm ready for it. We've been needing it.
Yeah.
The tool companies they've not stepped up like they should with these certifications to try to make the industry better. And they're kind of moving away from auto glass a little bit. And
Yeah.
they're focusing more on the body shops and other industries, tire, which they have to. They have to keep their market growing, and I get it. But we needed one for our industry, and I'm so happy that that's coming out. And I can't wait for that to happen for sure. Is there any classes that you're looking forward to? Any demonstrations that you're looking forward to seeing? Is there anything? I mean, I don't know if you've looked at the flyer yet to see what all the demonstrations are. Anything?
I've glanced through it, and kind of coming from a place of not just being a technician this year and like being a bigger part of the business itself, like some of the seminars for like the future of auto glass and navigating the TPAs and things like that I'm looking forward to, just because it's actually stuff I can apply now. Like, I was always curious about it, and I've tried to stay informed, but actually just running an auto glass business better and the tips people can offer for that, I'm definitely looking forward to that as well. But the ADAS certification is a huge thing too. I've had a lot of sleepless nights over that stuff, just like, what's the answer? What can we do as an industry? Like, where does the truth lie? And to have an actual certification now is huge. I'm really looking forward to that as well.
Yes, I agree. Those are very awesome points, because you're right. Many nights of sitting up, like, where do we go?
Yeah.
Do we rely on the AS? Because the AS, there's an ASE certification for it. Do we rely on that? Do we all go get that certification? Is that what brings us up as to levels of professionalism? And then working on that ADAS committee to try to come up with the questions, to try to come up with the actual certification, and then the questions of, yes, we need it, but is it worth it? Is it, do we go down the road? So yeah, there's been a lot of sleepless nights for that for me too. And just because you're always up trying to think, and I'm looking forward to also, now that you bring it up, I'm looking forward to the Drift Chris and Michael McCarthy. I'm looking forward to that a lot. I can't wait to sit through that. Knowing both of them on a personal level, and they're friends of mine, I think that's going to be such a great, you guys get your seats for that one, because I think that's going to be a great Q&A. I think it's going to be a great talk. I think there's going to be a lot of great information. I think you're definitely coming away from the show with something, from that talk. You're not going to leave out of there going like, oh, that was a waste of time. No, guarantee it. I guarantee it. I'm glad that you're moving up into a position where now you're having to think about running a shop, because, I was a technician for a very long time until I've, recently taken my role as a trainer. And you do think about even running the ins and outs of the shop. You're like, man, how can I be better? How can I be better?
Yep.
In Auto Glass Week, there are seminars to make you better. There really are. So let's switch gears, not too much, but a little bit from the Auto Glass Week. What does a day in the life of Tommy George look like? Let's hear it.
Well, just go to the shop in the morning and load up some parts, and then just go from there. We do mobile service and in shop, so I'm out on the road all day usually, and that's about it. I'm not super exciting.
You're not super exciting. Okay.
Yeah.
Now coming from the manager / technician part, and let's say you have a new trainee with you, what's one of the biggest pieces of advice you give to that trainee to try to get them ready for what they're coming into?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say 2 or 3 things are like my huge points. The first one is vehicle protection. It doesn't take long, especially if you work it into your routine. It's just going to become muscle memory at that point. The second thing that I think is really big is glass prep. Cleaning it correctly, decontaminating it correctly, making sure there isn't any contamination afterwards. And then the final thing is just bead application and your actual set itself. It doesn't matter if you do a stellar 5-star world-class install. If you screw up the set, it's all a moot point. It's still going to leak. You're still going to have problems, So that's hyper-critical. So those 3 things I think are the most important to me.
Yeah. Well, you can't get around. You can, my saying is, you can fuck up 95% of the job and still have a safe install if you run your bead correctly and your set's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean to play that off,
no.
But it's true. It's exactly true. You could fight getting that glass out.
Yep.
And have a bunch of problems. You can scratch the body when you're prepping a bunch, but you primer, so you remedy those.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you're protecting those. But the 2 parts that is the running of the bead, making sure your height is correct, making sure your width is correct, making sure that it's nice and straight, it follows the path of the old urethane, that, there's no humps and valleys, so that's got a nice set for it to set it on, and that you set it exactly where it needs to be, and then you deck it to the correct height. Not too far, You know what I mean? Don't leave it up, not too far. It has to be decked to the correct height so you don't change the acoustics inside the vehicle. You can mess up the rest of it. You know what I mean? As long as you get those two things correctly. And I'm not going to lie to you. You cannot get a good set with the cowl panel still on.
No.
I don't care how much magician wording you want to use for this. You cannot get a good set with the cowl panel still on. I'm sorry.
No.
So that has to come off.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's big for me. It's like you could, you know, because before my current, I was a trainer with the Auto Glass University. And that was my biggest thing was like, look, bead, 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 and set, set, set. You decontaminate correctly, you're one step closer to being professional set. Do you have to? What I mean by a professional set is decontaminate the car, decontaminate the glass, run your bead correctly, set the glass. That's it. You're right. Then it's professional after that. Then the rest is just bonus points. And then as far as vehicle protection, I like to say work efficiency into your routine. Don't let your routine dictate your efficiency. Meaning that, you know, like if you want to add something like car covers you've never done before, give yourself a couple weeks of really working in. Before you know it, you know, it's like when we all went to the wire tools. Remember how I was like, oh, it takes forever. I can usually get a windshield out before someone with a cold knife with a wire tool now.
Yep.
And so it was like, oh, it's just working into your routine, figuring out the little, you know, so vehicle protection, it doesn't take any longer. It makes you look professional. It's in my opinion, it's important because even before I had my, you know, my professional covers that I've had made, I was using moving blankets.
Yeah.
And those little chip clips you see up top that's holding my sign up there, that little chip clip.
Yep.
I used to use those. I used to wrap it around the internal fender and chip clip it. And so, yeah, I was not fancy, but it still looked professional. I mean, I had many customers comment about how, you know, oh, you're protecting that? Yeah, just in case, you know, I've never had any issues, but just in case. And then they're all like, oh, thank you so much. And, you know, so vehicle protection's huge. I love that tip. You know, you nailed it. Those are the three things. You want to be a great technician. Hit those points that Tommy just said, and you're going to be a great technician. You're at least on your way. Where do you get your information from if you're like a new car, or how do you stay current in the industry, Tommy?
A number of ways. Originally, before I had Travis, Luke, the owner of the company now, it really was like, shout out to the Facebook groups. I mean, I had left Safelite. I had gone to a smaller independent company, and I was the most experienced technician there with like a year and a half. I had no idea what the heck I was doing, you know. And so it was the Facebook groups for a long time. And, you know, now I know sometimes you have to take that information with a grain of salt, but I am still really appreciative of the people that are like, hey, here's this new car that's come out, or here's this back glass or whatever that not a lot of people have worked on. That's a good way. Even Alfredo's YouTube channel, that was a good place too. But if you don't, you know, if you can find somebody with experience in the industry who has that knowledge, that's definitely the best way to go for sure, and to be able to have some kind of a support system there.
Well, I've seen the evolution of the support system go from pretty much null and void, and then, you know, you just had, there was nothing there. There was nothing for us. You had what was it? Shit, I forgot who they were, because they were my first certification in the industry, and then it became the AGSC. Anyways, but you had that little book they had, which wasn't much, and then you had to rely on the people around you. But you're right, the Facebook groups, there's a lot of good information in there. Obviously, there's a lot of trolls, but the trolls are getting less and less. They are getting less and less. But,
yes. So
there's some good information, but also we're seeing a lot of information come out from other sources because of the internet. You know, you have your Glass Bites, you have, you know, the AGSC website. If you're a member, there's all kinds of training information on there that you have access to, because I go on all the time just to check and see what's up. Google searches of what's new in auto glass, and AI is helping with that a lot too. You just go into your chat GPT and be like, the new inventions or new laws or, something, and it'll bring up all the stories from around. The schooling, staying in touch with like Kaizen Auto Glass University, Auto Glass Academy, Auto Glass Technical Institute, Automotive Glass Consultants. There's a lot of resources now too that there wasn't just 5 years ago, but we do have to give a big shout out to the Facebook groups, because that brought together a lot of experienced technicians from a lot of different parts of the world that really, most technicians I have found, not all, they want to pass that torch a little bit to may not do as much mentorship as what they can in their everyday life, because they might not be hiring somebody new, or they might be in a shop environment to where people aren't wanting to take their advice, even though it's good advice, or they just don't have a bunch of employees anyways. It's just them. So the Facebook groups give people that mentor, to go in and say, there are some of the back and forth. We know that, but I will say the big shout out to the Facebook groups, YouTube channels. The Auto Glass Helpline is a new one that is good right now. He's putting out a lot of good information. He just, it's funny, like this show will come out in a few weeks, but I'm sure you've seen it already. He just dropped a video yesterday and he sent it to me beforehand, because I did not think, because I have to set a C-Max with the hood up. I have to set a C-Max with the hood up with the Pro Set. And I did not think you could do it with the Pro 6, the WRD Pro 6. I was like, there ain't no way. You got to lift up over the hood. And how are you keeping it on that? Like, and I think my exact words to Dave were like, "Oh, that's bullshit. That's bullshit." Ain't it? So he made a video, and he calls me out in the video. So I had to actually, when he texted me that yesterday, I had to actually go, "I stand corrected, sir. And it's a very smooth, a great set, and you got to respect those engineer mindsets that we have in our industry, even though they're maybe not trained engineers, but they figure out how tools work, even though not the way they were designed to work, and then they pass that knowledge on to the rest of us. Like, we are really very fortunate for guys like Dave and the Auto Glass Helpline, and Alfredo's videos, and Raul Placencia's videos, and Jorge's videos. There's so many of them out there. I know I'm missing somebody, and I apologize if I'm missing your videos, because you have some information, and I thank you for passing it on. And so if that, hopefully that little bit helps somebody, because, I'm always here. DM me if I have the answer. Cool. If not, I'll try to put you in contact with somebody, because, I've been in the industry a long time, but fuck, I don't know everything. There's cars I still haven't worked on. There's techniques I still don't know. The new tools that keep coming out. Yeah. How do you stay current on tools? Do you have a connection with a tool rep?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, Glass Bites and the Facebook groups, I do stay pretty active on those, and I'm always interested in the new stuff, but no, not necessarily. No inside connections.
So what keeps you interested in the new way? Because in our industry, I'm sure you've heard it, as I've done this 30 years and I've not had a problem. Why should I change to this tool now? Why should I change this technique now? So what keeps you curious? I mean, why don't you just settle into a routine?
If I can find ways to do the job more efficiently and in a safer manner, whether it's in regards to keeping the vehicle safe and not causing damage, or keeping myself safe and not causing my body damage, then I'm totally for that. It's like so satisfying to find a new tool or to find a new way of doing something, and it's like, oh wow, this is so much better. And to your point about the folks who say like, oh, I've been doing it this way for X amount of years, like, whenever I've encountered that, whether it be like trying to get people to use a string tool or vehicle protection, I've just tried to say like, yeah, it might take you a little bit longer initially, but just try it for 2 or 3 weeks, like give it a legitimate effort, And I think you'll be surprised by the results once you start to get more experienced and more proficient with whatever it may be that you're trying. You also might be pleasantly surprised with, like, hey, this actually is better, or hey, I actually can cut out a windshield just as fast, or hey, like, I'm using a setting tool now, my back doesn't hurt all the time. Just small things like that.
Yeah, the what got me was how much my hands stopped hurting when I stopped pulling a cold knife every day and running an express every day and switched over to a wire tool. And I have a lot of different wire tools now. At first I didn't, because I was kind of on the fence with them, just like everybody else was when they first came out. But what changed me was the 1818 Dodge Vans.
Oh, yeah.
Those 1708, 1818.
Yeah.
Those what changed me, because they were so tight against the top. Like, it couldn't cold knife. And then if you tried to use anything else across there, I resorted to using, steel wire, taping off and using steel wire with, handles on the side. And then, like, that was the whole reason I ever got my first wire tool, was the Viper, was because of that windshield. And I was like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So then I kind of moved on from there. But, like, the minute my hands stopped hurting, which was nice. My hands weren't filthy all the time anymore, because I wasn't grabbing a hold of, and then the urethane, and, because the way that a cold knife, it'll cut through, but it always brings up residuals with it, and then you get it on your gloves, and then it's like, man, goodness, then I got to change gloves because I don't want to get inside the car. Whereas, like, you're inside the car, you never have to touch that wire, most times, you're using guards and fiber sticks and everything, so you don't really have all that transfer of black chalkiness, that'll get onto the interior pillars. But with setting tools, I was very fortunate a lot of my career as two-person set, which was nice. But when I do have to set by myself, the setting tools, there's nothing like them, in my opinion. I mean, yes, I hand sat for many, many years. I hand sat, you know what I mean? It was just what you did. It's what we did. It's what we learned. It's how we learned. But it doesn't mean it's the only way, and it doesn't mean it's always the correct way. Just because you learned it that way, you can still always modify and move forward to something better, What was the definition of insanity? Is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Yep.
So move past that.
Yeah.
Move past that and get into something different. That's very. So what's your wire tool of choice?
I right now I'm using the Bison, the WRD Bison. I've been using that for probably, I don't know, since like September or October last year. I've kind of been, I'm kind of unique in the sense that I started at Safelite, so setting tools and wire tools, like, that's my foundation. That was one of the biggest reasons why I was scared to leave there initially, is because I thought I couldn't have those anymore. So that's always kind of been my go-to ways of doing things. The Frog's also an excellent tool. I used that pretty extensively while I worked for Valley Glass and worked with Jacques. Bolt, you can't go wrong either way. I just slightly prefer the Bison. It's great for, like, we get some really cold weather out here, and it's great for that, thick metal channel moldings, things like that, 1505s, 1851s. But yeah, I would say that's definitely my go-to right now, is the Bison.
Yeah, for years, I mean, like I said, I started with the Viper, then I went to the Raptor, and I left the Raptor and went to a Bat. And then from the Bat, I tried the Spider 4. I have one. I tried their dock station. I tried, let's see, there's a couple of different other wire tools I've tried in the past, like that fully automated one by Panther Pro. And then there was, I'll have to go digging through all the ones I have, like the one cut that's a cord. Been using the Frog, really enjoying that. The Bison's a great tool. It's got a similar cup setup. It's a little bit smaller than the Frog, but it's not like small. What is that? Like a 8-inch cup on the Bison? 8
or 9 inches, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. And, it's got a nice, hefty feel. things like that for RVs and everything is amazing because used to do a lot of heavy equipment in RVs. So I still pull a cold knife occasionally. You know, I don't install anymore. So just to keep my skill set sharp, you know, every time I get to do a demo or something, I'll try to incorporate a cold knife somewhere in there just to stay sharp with it. Almost completely gotten away from an express tool exclusively. You never had the opportunity really, probably until you left Safelite, to work with an express. They're great tools, but you got to become a surgeon with it. You really do. And people are worried about, you know, like, not people, I've heard comments about it taking longer to put vehicle protection on, or some customers, they would be mad if I put that vehicle protection on their car because they're painted or whatever. Walk towards somebody's car with a Sawzall with a big old flat blade on it and tell me that they're going to complain about vehicle protection. I mean, let's be completely completely honest. It looks like you're about to cut the whole roof of the car off when you walk over that thing. You know?
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're looking at customer, perception of car covers as being a bad thing, and you walk up with an express, it's like, okay. Because that is the most violent tool, violently looking tool, and in my opinion, one of the easiest ones to make a mistake with. It took me years and years in working with my friend James Thompson, Big James, that everybody's heard me talk about a million times, on how to keeping that sharp and how to become a nice surgeon with it, how to feel when it finally goes in. People can do it, and I was one of those people that did it, but the wire tool took all that out of it. As long as you make sure that you're not underneath of a piece of metal to cut the pinch weld off, I mean, you don't have that. It's it. You don't have that whole, and if you think that an express can't cut off something, I have a friend that cut off a whole channel on one of those 1551 Ford pickups, F-150. He cut the whole channel off on both sides.
Oh my gosh.
I remember that phone call. And I was like, "What do you want me to do, Randy? We gotta, drill these rivets out and get new ones and rivet it back on. What do you want me to do? I can't do that." He's like, "Can't we just glue them down?" I said, "We ain't liquid clipping that. No.
Yeah.
You have to get it. What do you want?" Yeah, I'll never forget. He called me and he's like, "Can you come over here real quick?" I said, "All right, man, what's up?" And he was like, as soon as I pull up, and he's standing there with both of those that he cut off, and I was just like, "Oh, bro, no." But yeah, so I had to end up going back out and riveted those on. But yeah, I was like, we cannot glue those back down. So anybody that's using liquid clips in a pinch, okay, I guess, but just replace the clip.
Yeah.
Just bring them back in and replace the clip, man. But yeah, so an express can do damage, and it can cut metal parts. It definitely can do that. So, you see people who cut the pinch weld off with a cord tool, and then the first thing is that everybody's looking to jump on somebody about the cord tool because it's become such a standard in our industry. It's taking place of these other tools, and they're just like, never seen an express tool do that or an extractor do that. And it's like, I've seen them cut through pillars. I've seen them cut through pillars. I've seen people who try to four-side it and cut through the roof. I've seen that. Yeah. So it happens. Maybe not have happened to you, but it does happen. But I believe you're right. The cord tools have changed our industry. Do you see anything new coming out? I mean, are we at a peak, or do you see something else coming out that's going to replace that?
It's hard to think of what else there could be, but then again, I'm sure 10 or 15 years ago, people felt the same way, when the express tool came out. I'm sure that was like, oh my gosh, like, how can it get better than this? We're at the peak. So I'm definitely excited to see what the future holds, but I also do think we're in a pretty good place right now, just because there are so many options out there, whether it is, wire tools, express tools, setting tools, that it's really easy to find one that works best with you. Everybody has their things that they like and find easy to work with, and you have a lot of really solid tool options out there now that, even 4 or 5 years ago didn't exist. So it's pretty neat to see that.
Yeah, I think if anybody, there's quite a few of them, like you said, wire tools. I like what Luis from VDK Car. I like some of the things he's doing. His new 3D printed tools with the new roller and stuff like that. The unknown and thing. I like that. Don't have one. Maybe I'll get my hands on one day. But I have been watching all of his videos, and I do like what he's doing with that. I've used the Panther Pro Fit a lot, and I like that tool, and I see that becoming for technicians my age. I'm 46, going on 47. I see that tool becoming more and more part of our arsenal because it does take the full weight of the window away. Young, strong, technicians, maybe not so much. But for someone like me to keep going and keep my longevity and keep, just to where I have a quality of life outside of auto glass, I think that tools like that, Fit Glass from Panther Pro. I think Equalizer had one at one point that was very similar, electronic or hydraulic.
The Sentinel.
Well, yeah, I had the Sentinel for RVs, but I think they had one that was for regular windshields too. That you park the tire on, and then just like the Fit Glass or the Slim Fit. But right now, I think as more and more people become exposed to that, especially the Slim Fit, the lighter version for going mobile and stuff, I think more and more people are going to start appreciating and liking that Panther Pro tool. And I have no affiliation with Panther Pro. I just this is what I, just from experience of working with the actual. I will say that the Fit Glass from Panther Pro is a little bit heavier, and it was a little bit more cumbersome to work with on a mobile setup. But for in shop, that thing was sweet. It was amazing. But yes, it would break down. You could go mobile with it, but the newer one that's lighter weight and everything, I think that one's a big game changer for mobile technicians. Because it does take the full weight of the windshield away, and it allows for a little bit better set. You can never go wrong with any of the setting tools out there. Get one. It doesn't matter what it is. Get the one you can afford and work your way up. That's that's exactly what I say. And if you're a technician out there, the next time you talk to your boss or for a raise, or if you just want to start getting yourself set up to buy tools or to have $1 an hour, so $40 a week, is $2,000 a year for tools. Just to give you a heads up, because the last time I went in for a raise when I was working at Richardson quite a few years back now, that was my thing, was like I didn't want, it'd been a few years since I'd had a raise, and I was just like, give me, a tool allowance, which equaled out to, $1,000 a year is, 50 cents an hour, basically, you know what I mean? Like, so that's how you can work it out, just to kind of get your brain thinking, because a lot of these tools are more expensive and some shop owners are reluctant to buy them. But for longevity of your body, it might be something that you look into, maybe splitting the cost with your boss, but it's yours if you buy it. So if you leave there, it goes with you.
Yes.
So you're taking care of yourself and you're investing in your future that way. Well, Tommy, we're coming up on 52 minutes. So I like to keep these at about an hour. It's been a great show. I'm very proud to have you accept my offer. I'm very proud to have you as my technician for this year's competition. I'm pulling for you, obviously, because if I got to put the pink jacket on you, dude.
Oh man.
Dude, come on. Like, that would just bring the whole circle around for me. But thank you again for that. Do you have any words for our listeners as we leave?
Well, first off, I wanted to thank you too when you called me to say, like, hey, I want to do this. Like, I was just speechless. Like, I didn't know what to say. Like, I'm so very grateful for the opportunity. Be out there wearing some pink in September this year. I'm super excited. And just, I think maybe some parting words for folks. This job can be stressful. It's tough. If you're mobile working out in the elements, it sucks. I have bad days. We all do. But if you can, what's really helped me and what's kind of kept me in auto glass is having those good interactions with customers and building relationships. That's been really big for me. But, take pride in your work, take pride in doing a professional job, take pride in learning ways to do the job better. Those two things are what has kept me engaged and what keeps this job exciting and makes the bad days worth it in the end, you know? So keep your head down and keep doing a good job, and thank you again for having me today and for the opportunity in September.
You're very welcome. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye. You'll hear me again in a second. All right. Thank you for watching today's show with Tommy. Hope you enjoyed yourself. And the best way you can support Put 'em on a Glass podcast is the normals, like, subscribe, share, clicks, bells, all the notifications that they give you. But the main thing is just invest in yourself. Invest in yourself as a business professional, as a technician. You are a professional, and go out there and show everybody every day that you care about them, yourselves, and their vehicles. Thank you.